Civic lesson. We don't own cars, they own us. When you buy one, each inevitably asserts its stamp on you in a way you could never imagine while contemplating its purchase. Said stamp often occurs immediately, but almost always within those first few weeks. And its tattoo lasts until you no longer own it. You suddenly find yourself inherited by another. I learned this long ago, according to my diary, on August 21st, 1944, to be exact. I had been back from California almost a year, less than a year away from crying tears of joy when my sister sent me an oversized jar of peanut butter in the mail. Now I was back home in Ohio, handing over the first of what would be $2,000 to my stepmother for her maroon 1987 Honda Civic, a car she now calls the loser cruiser. It wasn't a beater per se, but it sure beat the shit out of you while you were riding in it. And although it had no AC or power steering, it wasn't exactly a hoopty either. If only because my previous car, a 1977 Cutlass Supreme, had recently been traded straight up for a 19-inch television set. Of note the fact that months prior to this, I had started seeing Haiti. Aside from being thin, pretty, and intelligent, Haiti was also impossibly wealthy. At least her family was. Her mother was old British money, while her father had done nothing less than invent LASIK surgery. Haiti and I had rung in the new year as a new couple, but had broken up by April, not even outlasting my Cutlass. Nonetheless, we continued to screw like maniacs anyway, probably because of it. Yet things were winding down, like it or not. In September, Haiti was heading to graduate school in Pittsburgh, purchasing a house and putting down roots there. Meanwhile, I remained moored at home, or unmoored, depending on how you looked at it. I transferred my new Civic's title on a Friday afternoon in mid-August. Understandably, things between Haiti and I had been strained, sad, and just plain weird. More so, I mean. But we were riding it out, and that next day we were heading to my second cousin's 50th birthday party. Beforehand, we stood outside my place on Main Street trying to figure out which car we should take. Now, Haiti had a fire-engine red Mazda Miata convertible, which I drove anytime we went anywhere. I loved everything about that car. Its smell, the leather steering wheel, the way it handled so tight. Even the way I'd once fucked her on the hood of it outside of a party. It was my favorite car I'd ever driven. Yet when I spied my new car, the concept of autonomy came to mind. After all, Haiti was moving on, and most probably taking her Miata with her. Let's break in the Civic, I said. Most of my family lives on the west side of Cincinnati, as you well know, probably generally considered the poorer side, which also probably explains why Haiti was cut off by her family when she dated me. We headed to that side of the tracks. Once there, we hung out for a couple hours, had some drinks. Haiti and I orbited separately about the party, only occasionally crossing paths. I had enough drinks that I was starting to feel like a warm blanket had been thrown over me. Soon I was looking for the bathroom when my second cousin, whose birthday it was, and with whom I also worked, stopped me and said, "You sure aren't gonna miss you." "What do you mean, miss me?" "Haiti's been spreading the news," he explained. "What news?" I asked, suddenly thinking about abortion. "That you're leaving for Pittsburgh." I was speechless, but inside I was screaming, "Pittsburgh! Fuck Pittsburgh! I never said I was moving to Pittsburgh. Never even so much as hinted at it. Pittsburgh. I mean, I can't imagine a more sideways move for a fledgling poet like myself. Christ! Pittsburgh and Cincinnati have identical stadiums. What would be the point? Then I thought, the most I may have said was that I might visit for a few weeks after the New Year. Although remembered adding, but don't get your hopes up. Now Haiti was informing my family and me that my bags were packed. It was time to go. So, after assuring much of my family, including my own father, that no, I wasn't leaving again, no, you really don't need to replace me at work, we said goodbye. Goodbye, they exclaimed in return. Goodbye, as if for the last time. We crossed the lawn to my new go-kart. I found my way out of the suburbs, turned left onto West 8th Street. It was misty, so I turned on my windshield wipers for the first time. They worked, not perfectly, but the fact that they worked at all was refreshing. The rain reminded me that I had meant to piss. How had I forgotten? Oh yeah, Pittsburgh. Haiti, I said. You do realize I've never even suggested that my moving to Pittsburgh was a possibility, right? And that you just told half of my family and most of my coworkers that I was. She didn't reply. The radio was off, so we moved in silence. Meanwhile, I thought, shit, I'm kind of buzzed. Should I even be driving right now? Mark, you just transferred your title yesterday. Shit, I wonder who owns the Guinness World Record for quickest DUI in a new vehicle. Haiti then said, I don't want to see you anymore once I move to Pittsburgh. She talked like that. Her mother was Scottish, and she was, filthy rich. I don't want to see you anymore once I move to Pittsburgh. I continued up West 8th in the right lane, replied, well, if it's going to be like that, let's end it now. Okay, she said quickly, agreeably. Shit, that was easy, I thought, as I lit a cigarette. Both of our windows were cracked, so as it passed each telephone pole, there was an audible swish. And just as we approached the next one, Haiti abruptly grabbed the wheel and jerked the speeding car right at it. I braked, but the road was wet and we skidded right where my body braced for impact. The Civic swerving, then stopping just left of the pole, just missing it. But only because my new Civic had no power steering. She hadn't accounted for that. How could she have? Listen, I tell you, it sure felt strange to be sitting motionless before a telephone pole on a major thoroughfare in broad daylight. Improbably, though, there was no traffic as I calmly shifted into reverse and righted my new charge. Suddenly, I was sober. But I really needed a piss now. While reaccelerating, I decided that perhaps the safest way to share a car with a sociopath may be to say nothing at all. It was a long commute. But as we approached the Iris, the place that Haiti had found for me with the help of her ex-boyfriend and fellow poet Ken, who was the super there, the place Haiti had found me because I could no longer live with my beloved but crazy alcoholic mother. As we approached my apartment building, Haiti said, nonchalantly, and not at all like she didn't just try to kill us or anything, she said, but I don't want it to end tonight. Too late, I replied. Where do you want to be dropped off? In your bed, she said. Wrong answer, I thought to myself as I pulled up outside my place and turned the car off. At which point, Haiti slumped over the driver's side seat and pressed her weight on top of me and my full bladder. You owe me more than this, she cried as she did. Don't do this to me, she pleaded. My car door was open, but I couldn't move. As usual, I could smell freedom, but was not being allowed it. Then Haiti looked up at me and yelled, I'm not your fucking mother! I responded by picking her up off of me and depositing her onto the curb between the street and sidewalk. The gutter, essentially. Just like her parents had feared I would. Haiti lay there not moving, her dress up around her head, which I remember thinking was okay because that's almost where it had been to begin with. I stepped out of the car and stood above her. She still wasn't moving or making any sound. Christ, did I knock her out, I wondered? Just then, one of her many suitors, an older painter who lived across the street in a storefront, Jim Wainscott, walked by. Hey man, is she your friend? I asked him. If she is, she needs some help. Help her, man, because I can't. Who is it, he asked, annoyed. Haiti, I answered. At which point, Haiti jolted up, ran at me, tore my t-shirt in half while digging her nails into my chest. I looked down to see blood pouring down my front, then looked up to watch her friend disappear. I then attempted to traverse the sidewalk to the entrance of my apartment building, but Haiti blocked my way before I reached it. She stood there huffing, wild-eyed, while all I truly cared about at this point was simply not pissing myself. The world stops when you have to take a leak that bad. Or at least it should. We were having a Mexican standoff when Haiti suddenly reached over and buzzed Ken's apartment. Shortly after, he appeared, bespectacled, concerned, and mature. He broke up with me! Haiti screamed at Ken. She tried to kill us! I yelled at him. Admittedly, it was a lot to digest. Even for a poet. I just want to get up to my place, I said. Is that too much to ask? The door was open. Ken's back was against it. Haiti 2 steps down to his right. He nodded, okay, while putting his hands on Haiti's shoulders, granting me admittance. Ken, it might be noted, was also a martial artist. Thus, I had a certain amount of confidence in him as I inched past. And as I did, Haiti suddenly kicked her foot at my junk while also taking a swing at my head. But my forearm and elbow met the front of her neck first and drove her head against the wall behind her. I then walked past Ken and through the hallway to the door that led to my staircase. Put my key in and began to walk up it. Once I had reached the first landing, Ken opened the door below me and yelled, "You were too rough!" Despite the fact that it was only early evening and I had no shirt on, despite the bear-like claw marks on what passed as my chest, notwithstanding Ken's knowledge of the many other physical abuses I had suffered via Haiti's hands, not to mention his questionable inability to hold all 100 pounds at her back, Ken, my fellow poet, had his hackles up. I looked down at him from the landing. "Okay, Ken," I said. "You want to hurt me? Go ahead." I did what I had to do. He walked up the staircase, me down it. Then, Ken turned around. He would have killed me. I breathed a sigh of relief as I walked up the 2 additional flights of steps that led to my place. Once inside, I breathed another sigh of relief as I emptied my bladder. After that, I walked to one of my 2 large windows that faced Main Street. I could see my new car down there. Hades 2. Looking at mine, I contemplated the logistics of maybe trying to catch a movie. The more I thought about it, the more I wanted to, if only to reclaim the day. But decided in the end that might not look very good. Instead, I stood there, pining for my car. It was so near, right there, yet so far away. You never truly own anything, I thought. And then I stood there, looking at the car I really didn't own, from the place that really wasn't mine, and said to myself out loud, "Damn it, man. What were you thinking? You should have taken the Miata. You should have taken the motherfucking Miata." That is your civic lesson for the night. Be kind to each other. Thank you so much.